Hi everyone, so in this video I'm going to show you how to crochet this pinafore dress with a crossover back. So this dress can be made in any size and I show you how to make any size in the tutorial. So I also quickly wanted to mention that I have made a Twitter account and I will have a link to my Twitter account in the description box below. So if you want to go and follow me on there, you can show me photos of your crochet work. So thank you very much for watching and please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more crochet videos. To begin your dress, you want to start off by making a slip knot. So to do a slip knot, you want to take your yarn and you want to take your finger and you want to wrap the yarn around your finger once and then twice. Then take the first loop and pull it over the second loop. And then take the second loop and pull it all the way over your finger. You then want to take your crochet hook. So take your crochet hook, go in through this space and pull tight. And there you have a slip knot. Once you have your slip knot, you now want to make your foundation chain. And you can make your foundation chain as long or as short as you like. And the length of your foundation chain is going to determine the width of the front of your dress. So here I have another dress which I made in the exact same way, and the length of the foundation chain is going to determine this width here. So make sure that when you make your foundation chain, you make it to the length that you want the width of your dress to be. So if you are doing a baby size, then this will not be very long, but if you are doing an adult size or a teenager or a child size, this will be much longer. So make sure that it is long enough to cover this section here. And your foundation chain must also be an odd number of 3. So you need to chain an odd number of 3. So for example, you could chain 9 or 15 or 27, it's up to you. For this one, I chained 27. So chain an odd number of 3, which is long enough to cover this section here. So the top front of your dress. So I have finished making my foundation chain, and for the tutorial I am just doing a mini version of the dress, so I haven't chained very many at all. But if you are doing a dress in any other size, then you will probably have a much longer chain. So now we are ready to move on to round 1 of our dress. So we are now on to round 1 of our dress, and to begin round 1 you want to chain 1. So chain 1 on top of your foundation chain. So now round 1 is a simple round of half double crochet. We are going to do 1 half double crochet into every single stitch along our foundation chain, or into every single chain. And we're going to work our first half double crochet into the second chain from the hook. So here is the first chain from the hook, and here is the second chain from the hook. And into this chain we're going to work our first half double crochet. So yarn over and go into the second chain from the hook, yarn over and pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on your hook. So there we have 1 half double crochet, and we're going to do that into each chain along. Yarn over and go into the next chain. So go into the next chain and work another half double crochet, yarn over and go into the next one and work another half double crochet, and just do this into each chain along your foundation chain. So I have almost finished working that all the way along for round 1. So 1 half double crochet into every single chain, and I have 1 last chain to work into. And into this last chain I'm going to do 1 last half double crochet. But whilst working that half double crochet, I am also going to change colours. So round 2 is going to be a round of clusters. So we're going to do a nice pretty round of clusters all the way along. And I want that round to be in a different colour. So I want to do round 2 in a blue colour. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change colours right at the end of round 1 so that I have my new colour ready to use in round 2. So yarn over and go into this last chain here. So start a half double crochet as usual. And if you don't want to change colours, then just yarn over and pull through these 3 loops as usual. But if you do want to change colours, drop the yarn that you were using and take your new colour, place this over the end of your crochet hook and then pull it through all 3 loops. So there we have finished the half double crochet and the round, but also changed colours at the same time. So now you can fasten off the colour that you were using. So cut the green yarn, making sure that you leave a tail to weave in or work over later. And we're ready to begin round 2. So we are now on to round 2 of our dress. And to begin this round, you want to chain 1 and turn. And this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. And I'm using my new colour here. So now in round 2, like I said, we are going to work clusters all the way along. And that is going to create a nice, pretty, decorative row. So in this round, for our clusters, we are going to be using a stitch called 3 double crochets together. So when we work 3 double crochets together, we are doing 3 double crochets all into the same stitch. But then we are not completing any of the double crochets, and then we're going to complete all 3 of them together at the same time. So we are effectively turning 3 stitches into 1, and that is going to create our pretty clusters. So we're going to start off by going down into this very first stitch here, as our chain 1 does not count as a stitch. And into this first stitch we are going to work our first set of 3 double crochets together. So you want to yarn over and go down into this first stitch, so into the very first stitch, pull up a loop as you would with a normal double crochet, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops as you would with a normal double crochet. But usually to finish off a double crochet, we would yarn over and pull through these 2 loops here. But we are not going to do that. We're going to leave this double crochet incomplete and move on to the next one. So yarn over and go back down into the exact same stitch, pull up a loop and yarn over and pull through 2 loops. So there we have 2 incomplete double crochets. And you want to do that a 3rd time. Yarn over, go into the stitch, pull up a loop, and then yarn over and pull through 2 loops on your hook. So there we have 3 incomplete double crochets, 1, 2, and 3. And you want to yarn over and pull through all of the loops on your hook to complete the stitch. And there we have completed 3 double crochets together, and we have our first little cluster. So now what you want to do is you want to chain 1 and skip the next stitch. And for round 2, we are just going to repeat that again and again and again. We're going to do 3 double crochets together into 1 stitch, chain 1 and skip the next stitch. And just do that all the way along. Keep repeating that for round 2. So we have chained 1 and skipped the next stitch. So into this next one we're going to make our next cluster. So yarn over and go into the stitch, pull up a loop, pull through 2 loops, yarn over and go back into the same stitch, pull up a loop and pull through 2 loops, yarn over and go into the same stitch again, pull up a loop and pull through 2 loops. You should have 4 loops on your hook, and yarn over and pull through all 4. So there we have completed 3 double crochets together, and now you want to chain 1, so chain 1 and skip the next stitch, and just repeat that again and again for this round. So I have almost finished working that all the way along for round 2, and I have worked my last cluster, chain 1 and skip the next stitch. And you should find that you have one last stitch to work into, and into this last stitch we're going to work a final set of 3 double crochets together. So we're going to work a final cluster. So yarn over and go into this last stitch here and work your final set of 3 double crochets together, just as we have done before. And at this point you should have 4 loops on your hook, and usually we would yarn over and pull through these 4 loops to complete the stitch. But in round 3 I want to start working in the green again, so I'm going to do the same thing as I did last time, and I'm going to change colours at the end of round 2 so that I have my new colour ready to start working with in round 3. So I'm going to change colours whilst working this last stitch here. So I have started working my cluster, and what I'm going to do is when I get to this stage, right before I yarn over and pull through these 4 loops, I'm going to drop the yarn that I was using, take my new colour, so I'm going to take the green again. So take your new colour, place this over the end of your crochet hook and pull this through. And there we have completed the stitch and the round and changed colours at the same time. And you can now fasten off the colour that you were using, so cut the yarn leaving a tail to weave in later, and we're ready to begin round 3. So we are now on to round 3 of our dress, and to begin this round you want to chain 1 and turn, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So now round 3 is another round of half double crochet. We're just going to do 1 half double crochet into every single stitch along for round 3. So you want to yarn over and go down into this very first stitch here, as our chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So go down into this first stitch, to this very first one, and work your first half double crochet. Then I'm going to go into the next stitch and work my next half double crochet. Then do a half double crochet into the next stitch, and just do this all the way along. 1 half double crochet into each stitch. So I'm just coming to the end of round 3, and I worked half double crochets all the way along, and I have one last stitch to go into. And whilst working this last half double crochet, I'm also going to change colours again. So just in the same way as we have done before, as I want a new colour before I begin round 4. So you want to yarn over and go into the last stitch, and this last stitch should be the first set of 3 double crochets together that you worked at the beginning of round 2. Make sure you're not going into the chain 1 that we did at the very beginning, as the chain 1 does not count as a stitch. Make sure that you're going into the last cluster here, pull up a loop, drop the yarn that you were using, take your new colour, so I'm going back to the blue this time, place it over the end of your crochet hook and pull it through. And you can then fasten off the colour that you were using, and we're ready to begin round 4. And at the end of round 3, if you want to go back and check that you have the right number of stitches, you should have the same number as you chained at the very beginning, so your odd multiple of 3. So say you chained 27, you should still have 27 half double crochets across, and that does not include the chain 1 that we worked at the beginning. The chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So now we're ready to move on to round 4. So we are now on to round 4, and to begin this round, chain 1 and turn, and the chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So now round 4 is just another round of half double crochet. You just want to do 1 half double crochet into each stitch along. So yarn over and go down into this very first stitch here, as the chain 1 does not count as a stitch, and do 1 half double crochet, and do this into every single stitch. 1 half double crochet into each stitch along your row. So I am just coming to the end of round 4 and I have one last stitch to work into, and whilst working this stitch I'm going to change colours again. So yarn over and go into the last stitch, and this last stitch should be your first half double crochet from the previous round. Make sure that you're not going into the chain 1, that you're going into the half double crochet and pull up a loop, and then drop the yarn that you were using, take your new colour, and I'm going back to the green again and work your last half double crochet. So pull it through, then fasten off, and that is actually going to be our last colour change, so it gets a little bit easier from now on, and we're ready to move on to the next round. So we are now on to round 5 of our dress, and for the next part of our dress you just want to continue doing rounds of half double crochet. So you want to chain 1 and turn and do 1 half double crochet into each stitch along, then chain 1 and turn and do 1 half double crochet into each stitch along, and keep repeating that again and again and again until you feel that your front section is long enough. So here, if you look at the dress, which I have already done, this section here, so I have my cluster round, then I have my round in a different colour, and then these rounds are just rounds of half double crochet. So you just want to keep repeating rounds of 1 half double crochet into each stitch until you get to the waist of your dress. So if you're doing a baby dress, this may only be about 3, 4 or 5 rounds, but if you're doing an adult dress, this may go up to 10 rounds, 12 rounds, it's up to you. You can do as many rounds as you like until you get to the waist. And then we are going to start making the back and start increasing for the skirt. So keep repeating rounds of 1 half double crochet into each stitch until you feel that your front section is long enough. So chain 1 and turn to start each round, and then you want to go into this very first stitch here. Here's the chain 1, here's the first stitch, and as the chain 1 never counts as a stitch, we need to go into this first stitch. So go into the first stitch and work 1 half double crochet, and do this into each stitch along, 1 half double crochet into each stitch along, so all the way along. And in each round you should be working the same number of stitches. So in each round you should still be working the same number of stitches as you chained for your foundation chain. So say you chained 33 for your foundation chain, you should be working 33 half double crochets in each round. So keep with that number and make sure that you are not increasing. And when you get to the end of each round, you should go into your very last half double crochet here, and make sure you're not going into the chain 1. This little stitch is the chain 1 and this does not count as a stitch. So do not go into there, go into your last half double crochet. Work your last stitch, and this should be the same number as you chained, and then we're just going to repeat that again. Chain 1 and turn, and go down into the first stitch and do 1 half double crochet into this stitch and all the way along. So just do half double crochets all the way along, and then repeat that again, and continue this until you feel the front section of your dress is long enough. I have just finished working those rounds, and I now have the front of my dress to the length that I want it, so to the waist. And as I said before, I am just doing a mini version for the tutorial, but you can make this as long or as wide as you like. So to make it wider, just do a longer foundation chain, and to make it longer, just do more rounds. So I have it to the length that I want it, and you need to make sure that when you work your last round, that you work your last round along the front of your dress. And you can tell which side is the front by looking at your clusters. This section here, when the stitches look like this is the front, and on the back they are much smaller and puff out. So this is the front, and you need to make sure that you worked your last round along the front. And that is what I did. So my work is now on the front, and if I was to do another round, I would chain 1 and turn, and we'd be going along the back. So make sure that you are ending on a round which is the front. So if you've ended on a back round, just do one more round. It won't make much difference to the size at all. So I have this now to the length that I want it, and we're now going to begin making the skirt of our dress. To begin the skirt of our dress, what we are going to do is we are going to make a long chain, and then we're going to bring it around and make a slip stitch into this side of the top, and then we will have a big circle which we can then work on to make the skirt of our dress. And you can make this chain as long or as short as you like, and the longer you make it, the wider your skirt will be around the waist. And we are going to be doing some increase rounds in the skirt, so if you're not sure how many chains to make, I would always say to go smaller rather than larger, as we are going to be increasing as well. So make it so that it's the right size to go around the waist. So for my purple dress here, I chained 27 for my foundation chain, and for the waist I just chained 27 again. So overall I had 27 plus another 27. So you could do it that way and just chain the same number as your foundation chain, or you could do a little bit more if you want it to be bigger around the waist. And obviously if you were doing a child size, it will be much smaller than if you were doing an adult size. And this chain must also be in multiple of 3. It doesn't have to be an odd multiple this time. We only needed the odd number for our cluster round up here. So it must be a multiple of 3. So you can chain 33, 36, you can chain anything you like as long as it is a multiple of 3. So you could do 60, you could do 66, 63, 69, 72. It's up to you depending on what size you were doing and how big you want it to be around the waist. So chain a multiple of 3 to make your skirt the right size. So for my top, I chained 21. So I'm just going to go ahead and chain 21 again. So you have your work like this, and you just want to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way up to your multiple of 3. So here is my chain, and if I bring that around, I can see how big my dress is going to be around the waist. And like I said, I'm doing a mini version, so it's not very big at all. But if you were doing another size, it will be much bigger. And then you want to come around to the opposite side of your dress over here. So the opposite side of the round, and here is the first half double crochet of the round. And you want to go into this stitch, into the first half double crochet, and work a slip stitch. So take your yarn and pull it through, and then through again. And now you can really see what your dress is going to be and what size it is going to be. So if you feel that this is too small, then just add another multiple of 3. Just keep adding chains in multiples of 3. So there we have the start of our skirt, and we're now going to begin working. So to begin round 1 of the skirt, you want to chain 1, and this chain 1 does not count as a stitch. So now for round 1, we're going to do 2 half double crochets into one stitch, and then 1 half double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches. Then 2 half double crochets into the next stitch, then 1 half double crochet into each of the next 2 stitches, and keep repeating that again and again and again. So yarn over and go down into this very first stitch here, and do 1 half double crochet into this stitch. Then yarn over and go back down into the same stitch again and do a second one. So a second half double crochet into the same stitch. Then do 1 half double crochet into the next stitch and 1 into the next. So we have 2, 1, 1, and keep repeating this all the way around. So we're going all the way around the front and then around the chain. So do 2 half double crochets both into the next stitch, 1 half double crochet into the next one, and 1 half double crochet into the next one. And this is why we need our multiple of 3, because we are increasing in 3s. We're increasing every 3rd stitch. So do 2, 1, 1, all the way around. I have just finished working that all the way around for round 1 of the skirt, and if it doesn't go exactly, if you come to the end and say you don't have enough stitches to do 2 1 1 at the end, that doesn't matter, just go along to the end, and then when you get to the start here, just stop working. It can be really tricky sometimes to work into the chains, and sometimes you skip a chain or work an extra stitch into one chain without realizing, so just go to the end. It doesn't have to be exact, as it is just a big circle, and we're going to be increasing again anyways. Once you have come to the end, we are not going to be working a slip stitch. We're going to move on straight on to round 2 of the skirt. So we're ready to move on to round 2. So we are now on to round 2 of our skirt, and for this round we're going to do 2 half double crochets into one stitch, but then 1 half double crochet into each of the next 3 stitches. So we're going to do 2 1 1 1, then 2 half double crochets into the next stitch, and 1 half double crochet into each of the next 3 stitches again, 1 1 1, and repeat this all the way around. So we're doing 2 half double crochets into every 4th stitch. So what you want to do is yarn over and go into this first stitch here, so the first stitch from round 1, and work your first half double crochet. But before we go down into this same stitch again and work a second half double crochet, we're going to take a stitch marker. So take your stitch marker and place it into that stitch that we just worked. And this stitch marker is going to mark the first stitch of the round. So in our skirt, we're not going to be using slip stitches. So we're not going to be using any slip stitches, and we're just going to work our skirt in one big spiral. And that is going to prevent us from having a seam down the side. But because we are working in a spiral, we're not going to be able to see where one round ends and where a new round begins. So that is why we need to use a stitch marker, and we're going to place our stitch marker into the first stitch of every round, and then when we reach the stitch marker again, we know we have finished that round and we can remove it and start our new round, and then place the stitch marker back into the first stitch of the new round. So we're going to be moving it with each round, and that way we know where to end and where to begin. So what we have done is we have done 1 half double crochet into the first stitch, and if you don't have a stitch marker, you can always just use another piece of yarn in a different colour. So you can just put the yarn through that stitch and make a little knot and then move it at the end of the round. So we have done 1 half double crochet into the first stitch, and we're going to yarn over and go back down into the same stitch and do a second one. So 2 half double crochets both into one stitch. Now we're going to do 1 half double crochet into each of the next 3 stitches, like that. And then repeat this again. 2 half double crochets into the next stitch, and 1 half double crochet into each of the next 3. And just continue to repeat this for this round. I have just finished working that all the way around for round 2, and I have reached my stitch marker. And at the end of this round, you'll probably find that you won't be able to complete your last set of 2 half double crochets, then 3 individual half double crochets, just because we were working in multiples of 3, and now we are increasing every 4th stitch, so it may not go exactly depending on what number you have. But just go along till you come to the end. So I ended up doing 2 half double crochets, then 1 and then 1 more, and I'm just going to stop here and then begin the next round. It doesn't have to be exact, like I said again. So now we are ready to move on to the next round of our skirt. So we have reached the end of round 2, so remove your stitch marker and we're ready to move on to round 3. So now for the rest of our skirt, we're just going to do rounds of half double crochet. So you just want to do rounds of 1 half double crochet into each stitch around. So do 1 half double crochet into each stitch around. Then when you come to the end of the round, take your stitch marker out and then work your first half double crochet of the new round and place your stitch marker into that stitch and work all the way around again, 1 half double crochet into each stitch around. So we have finished increasing and we're not going to increase any more, and you will find as we do rounds it will go out a little bit more as well. And then what we are going to do is just keep repeating that until you feel that your skirt is long enough. So you can do as many or as little rounds as you like. And if you're doing a baby or child size, that would be much less than if you were doing an adult size. But just keep going, keep repeating rounds of 1/2 double crochet into every single stitch around until your skirt and dress is long enough. To begin each round, yarn over and go into the first stitch. So go into the first stitch and work 1/2 double crochet, and then as this is the first stitch of the round, place a stitch marker into this stitch, and now we're just going to do 1/2 double crochet into every single stitch around. So do 1/2 double crochet into each stitch, and then when you come to the end of the round, so when you reach the stitch marker again, remove the stitch marker, work your first 1/2 double crochet back into that stitch, so into the first stitch of the new round, and then place your stitch marker into that stitch. And that is how we are going to know where each round ends and where each new round begins. So just keep repeating rounds of 1/2 double crochet all the way around. So once you repeat those rounds again and again and again, this is what you should have. You should have a nice long skirt like this. And then when you get to the very end and you have decided that your skirt is long enough, you need to finish off your skirt by doing a slip stitch. So remove the stitch marker and then work a slip stitch into the very first stitch of the round, and then fasten off, so pull your yarn out and your hook and cut your yarn, leaving a nice long tail to weave into the inside of your dress, and then weave your tail into the inside like I have done. And there we have finished the skirt of our dress, and you should have the top section and the skirt, and this is what it should look like. And then the last thing that we have to do is we have to create the straps at the top here. So the straps of our dress are a crisscross. We are going to have a cross at the back, and then I have attached 2 buttons here, you can see. And you can make your straps as long or as short as you like, depending on what size dress you were doing them. And you can also make them as wide or as thin as you like. It's completely up to you. Depending on if you are doing an adult dress, they will be much longer and probably thicker than if you were doing a kids one like I did here. But we are going to be doing a cross, and I will show you how to do that now. So you want to add the straps once you have the top and the skirt done. I always think it's better to have the length done, and then you know how long you want to make your straps to make them in proportion. So to make the straps of your dress, I'm going to show you on my mini dress here, and I haven't actually finished the skirt of the mini dress yet. I'm going to do that later, but I'm just going to show you the straps first. But if you were doing this on your dress, I would recommend finishing off the skirt first so that you make sure that your straps are in proportion with the rest of your dress. So what you want to do is turn your skirt or your dress so that it is facing you, so that you have the front side with the clusters this way around facing you. And you want to do your right strap first, so go to the very edge, the very corner up the top, and insert your hook into this corner as far to the corner as you can go. Take your yarn, place it over the end of your crochet hook and pull it through, and then chain 1, and this is going to attach your yarn for your straps to your dress. And now you need to decide how wide you want your straps to be. So for my purple dress, I did 5 stitches across, so 5 stitches for each strap. But as this is a mini one, I'm not going to do as many as that. I'm just going to make my straps 3 stitches wide. So make sure that you know how many stitches you want to do, and remember that number as you want both of them to be exactly the same. So I'm going to do 3. So yarn over and go down into the first stitch, so the very same stitch that you attached your yarn into. Pull up a loop and pull through both loops on your hook, all 3 loops, sorry. So do 1/2 double crochet into the first stitch. Then I'm going to do 1/2 double crochet into the second one along, and 1/2 double crochet into the third one along. So we have 3 half double crochets, and that is how wide I want my little straps to be. But you can do them as big or as small as you like. So you can do them 5 stitches wide, 6, 7, 8, depending on if you want thick or thin straps. and how big your dress is. If you are doing adult ones, it's probably better to go thicker rather than thinner. And now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 1 and turn, and then yarn over and go down into this first stitch and do 1 half double crochet, and do 1 half double crochet into the next one, and then the very last stitch. So just go all the way along your row with half double crochets, and then we're just going to repeat that round 2 again and again and again until we feel that our straps are long enough. So chain 1 and turn, and go down into the first stitch and do a half double crochet, and go all the way along, and make sure that you are doing the exact same number in each row. So if you started with 5, you need to do 5 in every round. If you started with 3, make sure that you are doing 3 in every single round, and your chain 1 never counts as a stitch. And just keep doing rounds of half double crochet until you feel that your straps are long enough. So keep repeating these rounds, and remember that we are going to be crossing over, so they will need to be longer than if you were just going straight down. But you could go straight down if you wanted, but I am doing a crossover, so make sure that they are a little bit longer. So I have worked that round again and again and again for my strap, and I feel that in 2 more rounds time my strap will be the perfect length. So at this point I'm going to add in a buttonhole. So what do you do for a buttonhole? It's very simple. You just make it in the middle of your second to last round. So chain 1 and turn to start as usual. Do 1 half double crochet. And then when you get to the middle of your round, so this may be 2 stitches, 3 stitches, it's up to you depending on how big you want your buttonhole to be. Instead of working into the stitch, chain. So I'm just going to have a 1 stitch buttonhole, so I'm just going to chain 1, skip the next stitch and work a half double crochet into the last one. But if you have big buttons and you want to do a big hole, maybe skip the 3 middle stitches and chain 3, or skip 2 stitches and chain 2. It's up to you. And then for your last round, just do the same thing as usual. So go into the first stitch and work a half double crochet. But in the middle, you want to work your stitches into the middle space for as many as you skipped, or as many as you chained. So as I chained 1 and skipped 1, I need to do 1 half double crochet into that space, and then finish off by doing 1 last stitch at the end. And now I can fasten off as I feel that my straps are long enough to come and cross over, and then I'm going to attach a button here. And then for the other strap, you want to do the exact same thing. So you need to make sure that the other strap is the exact same width and the exact same length. So it needs to be exactly the same. So for this one, just turn your work and start on the edge again by attaching your yarn in the same way, working along and then chaining 1 and turning and doing half double crochet rounds until it's the same length, and then do a buttonhole at the same point and fasten off. And there we will have finished our dress. So I have finished adding my straps, and then I added buttons on the back of my dress and weaved all of the ends into the inside. So I have my dress to the length that I want it, and I have the straps, and I have weaved in all of my ends, and I have finished. So that is it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and found it easy to follow. Please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more crochet videos, and thanks again for watching. Bye!